Who loves a good underdog story? I know I sure do. When you know someone with an overwhelmingly large chance to win, a part of you feels like it should root for the less likely, so you can feel the dramatic comeback in full on the off chance that they somehow manage to pull it off. On a cold September morning, it looked as though we were diving headfirst into one.
Oh.
What's the first thing you think about when you hear the word BFDI? Outsiders might think fiery, leafy. The more in tune would talk about BFB and the Teapot seasons, maybe even going as far as to mention the theater releases and even the merch drops, which, as you can see, they showcase the most well-known and recognizable characters. They fulfill the role of influential. And if you don't believe me, BFDI ended up being influential enough to earn its own Wikipedia page. But that's for another time. Unless she's your favorite character, I'm betting that this cyan silicone bracelet was not the first thing you thought of, or even the first 5 things. It's time to introduce you all to Bracelet. Before she became the Bracelet she was now, she was at first called Bracelet, with her initial appearance being in BFDI 14, all the way back in 2011. She ended up becoming one of the first recommended characters you see on the screen, which, given the increasing amount of recommended characters, a lot of people tend to focus on who came up first. And Bracelet was it. Bracelet would make a few more appearances, with some small tweaks, especially around BFDI 20 and beyond, where she would display her iconic signage. And then, the second season voting loomed around, and as it turned out, Bracelet was one of the characters. Surely, she would have at least an honest good shot at it. Well, I suppose not after all. As if she was a non-entity in the equation, Bracelet couldn't even scratch 20 votes. She was well behind the entire competition through and through, with her gap between second lowest, Bottle, being greater than her, and the next one up, Saw. That just goes to show how unpopular she was in the whole scope of things. Unfortunately, she will be given no chance to compete across BFDIA, and with the season stopping in its tracks in BFDIA 5e, her obscurity would linger for several more years. When voters were asked again in IDFB on who should be freed and become a contestant again, Bracelet's outlook didn't get any better. She got 32 votes, which is still an absolute far cry from the now improved frontrunners that are now receiving thousands of votes. Didn't Puffball literally sabotage her whole team last time? Well, as the saying goes, time heals all wounds, but that's a story for another time as well. At the very least, Bracelet did beat out Baldo this time, but is that really worthy of a silver lining at all? At this rate, who knows if Bracelet will be able. Well, what do you know? Jack and Jellyfie's hiatus is officially over, and BFB 1 is out. You know what that means? Congratulations, Bracelet! You finally get your first official screen time as a contestant. Now, we can't get you everything here, so no joining Ice Cube's team. Yes, I know, Bracelet, it really sucks, but you can't get with her tonight. Don't worry though, you'll find a way to make yourself at home. And look at that, you have a team, and you yourself decided the team name, Team Ice Cube, stepping up to the charge and leading this team to victory. Alright, let's see here. You help out in a major way in episode 1, playing a huge part in your team's safety. Great stuff! Then in the next episode, the whole team combines for a monumental effort into doing the challenge, which also bolsters team chemistry. Yes, Bracelet, you still cannot get with Icy tonight, but it's okay. You'll probably see Icy eventually. Back to the action. In episode 3, after some struggle, we see some leadership from Donut on the team that you yourself made, full of pride and determination. Unfortunately though, y'all came up just short, but it's alright. It's not the best being UFE this early, but if not now, then when? We'll just have to come back even stronger. We're gonna have to style 4, right? For the special episode, but oh, where are you, Bracelet? You're not there. Wait a minute, something's not right. No, still no. There you. Oh no. As quick as Bracelet entered the BFB world as a contestant, she was already out the moment her team was up for elimination. It was already established that Bracelet was one of, if not, the least popular contestant throughout BFDIA. So the one time that having the most votes is the most detrimental, she led the voting tally by a mile. It was so bad that the gap between her and Gelatin was twice as large as the gap between Gelatin and Bonnie. Just as we got to know her, she was gone. Speaking of Gelatin, it seemed as though her unpopular status persisted, when he went on to say that 4's new look in the challenge was made with abandoned trash, when really it was just a product of treasured and valuable art that Bracely had made for Icy. It wasn't just Gelatin though, it was on the whole team as well. By episode 5, they were rubbing salt on the wounds of the few Bracely fans, praising Gelatin for the blatant disrespect of Bracely. That was it. When are we ever going to see Bracely again? The concept of a rejoin is where a host, or the show in general, grants the ability for a contestant to rejoin the game. It breathes second life to eliminated hopefuls. And after figuring out what was going on inside of 4's mouth, it was the signal that something positive was brewing, something that can test Bracely's relevance once again. That's where BFB 10 rolls in. Being realistic though, Bracely yet again faces insane competition. Had she not gone up against star-studded characters like Pencil and Leafy who were eliminated really early, she would have had a chance. So I guess it's preconceived that she won't make it back into the game. As much hope as there is, this is certainly not happening. Guess we'll just have to see BFB 11 and find that Bracely is not last in the votes this time. That unfortunate honor goes to Robati, one of the many Beep contestants that got eliminated throughout the season. So she beat out someone again at least. Let's keep going. Up next, 4 announces that 8Ball and David are out, so she beat out them as well. And then, Stapy was out. And Lai too. That is really huge.
Bracely, you didn't get enough votes to rejoin.
We'll settle for 4th. That's where Bracely got, with a vote total of 2,559 votes. She snagged more than 100 times the votes compared to her attempted debut in BFDIA, and ended up being poised as a serious rejoin contender, had Leafy not gone in the way. But that doesn't really matter today. What we just witnessed this episode was that there are people out there, real people out there, that really appreciate her efforts. Honestly, I'm really proud of Bracely. Even if she ultimately didn't rejoin, she went from having virtually no support in BFDIA to having rallied a community between her elimination to her rejoin. What was the difference maker between Bracely and Leafy? We can establish that Leafy was eliminated far too early as a character, even if she was pretty bad for Beep in episode 2. But what she also had was community, and especially influence. She had people rallying behind her ever since the start of BFDI, particularly because she was regarded as a main character, which is why she had the numbers needed to rejoin the game. That's what's missing. And Bracely, I think you should be rewarded with that. I'd like to introduce you to your hero for today's story, GD Nacho. Meet GD Nacho. By the end of the story, you will hail him as an unsung hero. But for now, he's your typical Geometry Dash YouTuber that's played a few GD levels and has showcased exasperation. Even though he joined the OSC scene just a bit too late for the BFB 10 rejoin, he'll be a catalyst for what's to come, because he just so happens to favorite Bracely. But how does one catapult Bracely to absolute stardom, all by himself? Simply began a series on YouTube that goes incredibly viral. Back then, the things that went popular on the BFDI universe were voting results and predictions, and Nacho just so happened to jump in at the right time. Several months later, the popularity made him hit 4,000 subscribers in March of 2020. In the video, he included a server that joined in for the celebrations, which will be absolutely vital in forming the movement that will spend years getting Bracely to rejoin. Fittingly, the name is called the Bracely Inquisition. His early OSC-focused non-GD video, Bracely's Tribute, had a link in which you can access the server. Combined with his newfound popularity, it put more eyes onto the formerly unknown character of Bracely. Before they congregated to celebrate him hitting 4,000 subscribers, over a dozen Bracely fanatics ended up running it up and took over an entire Roblox server, showing the numbers of the fight for a potential Bracely rejoin. Soon enough, GD Nacho was fully on board the OSC Express, carrying the wave of popularity with him, and the concept was clear. Your expectations when you joined TBI? Put all your allegiances into supporting a rejoin of Bracely. Nothing more, nothing else. It became even more apparent once GD Nacho began reacting to BFB episodes, gawking at the moment Bracely even gets a fraction of screen time.
Yes!
And he'd be right to react this way. Across BFDI, BFDIA, and BFB thus far, no character has competed less than Bracelet. You could argue that Pencil was a one-and-done elimination, but her extensive history in her previous 2 seasons shows that this was just a freak elimination. Someone had to be out early in BFB's first episode. Bracelet's active competing screen time was minimal at best, and it could be considered a blessing that Bracelet even shows up at all. With TBI then surpassing 1,000 server members on May 14th, it was only up and up from here. That was until the community got carried away. It's inevitable that a community that expands to such a degree would lead to eventual discourse. Unfortunately, this would come to haunt TBI in one of the worst ways it could, affecting an elimination of an actual BFDI episode. It's May 22nd. BFB 19's out and the Have-Cots lost. None of these characters are in any way, shape, or form Bracelet. So how did TBI involve themselves in this elimination? Well, we have to look at the voting results. Throughout the post-split era, commenters usually get 48 hours to vote for whoever wants to be saved, and in this moment, Gelatin and Ruby were in the bottom 2, but it was a really close race. Particularly when a voting is about to end and the votes get this close, that's when a lot more action unfolds. More votes roll in, seeing if anything can just flip. However, the activity from this episode was terribly suspicious, and unfortunately, these messages sent GD Nacho into the crossfire. Several TBI members tried to encourage everyone else to side with Ruby, to the point where others called on alts to try to bolster her voting totals, and it spread like wildfire. And unfortunately, this was coinciding with TBI's rise as a server, and that led the fingers to be pointed squarely on one person only. With GD Nacho under fire, he had to scramble to get the situation under control, as for the first time, TBI was under public scrutiny. The server that was made to establish Bracelet as this inspiring underdog is now at risk of its reputation dropping to the ground. You could only imagine the panic that was ensuing in the server, as Nacho wasn't even there as the whole alting fiasco occurred. But that's what ultimately relieves him of any responsibility, as this happened without his knowledge. Over the next few hours, he cracked down on the case, issuing bans to the infringers, locking the server down for several days, and making things clear that he is only just another person that happens to hold a huge influence. It's not easy controlling a community of such size. Despite the size of the server, although he was initially plummeted hateful comments from people that assumed he was the one responsible, ultimately he was able to clear everything up with the help of staff, as well as others who made videos coming to his side. As messy as the situation was, the controversial effort ended up being fruitless, as Gelatin remained treading above the waterline to be safe, but it was super close throughout, given that BFB 20 had a goof that featured Ruby post-elimination by mistake. For GD Nacho and TBI though, huge crisis averted. Back to the action. Despite the sticky situation, Nacho's best days were yet to come, as a week later on May 29th, and then again on June 26, 2020, GD Nacho would upload 2 new videos. 5 hated BFDI characters that are now loved, and 5 loved BFDI characters that are now hated. The flawless BFB prediction series from earlier put him in his deserved place in the OSC, but now those 2 videos ascended him into even further heights. Only a month after uploading, the former ended up overtaking his exasperation video as his most viewed video on the channel. As of 2026, they both breached the 1 million view mark, and with that amount of viewership came another wave of curious onlookers that saw more than just a guy making creative BFDI videos. They saw a whole quest, a grind. This momentum easily carried him to 10,000 subscribers by the summer of 2020, and from there, TBI established itself as a large community that continued to support Bracelet, even if there were episodes that just had nothing to do with Bracelet. Throughout the rest of 2020, some cool, exciting moments came out of TBI, such as the founding of TSI, or the Stupid Idiots, which some people may have been familiar with. I doubt people were familiar with when it was founded though. Of course, it was on GD Nacho's birthday. Then in September of 2020, GD Nacho would take down one of the most influential extreme demons in the game, Bloodbath.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I mean it! I mean Bloodbath! Oh my god! Oh my god! No! Whoa.
And then in the turn of 2021, we'd see BFB nearly conclude as GD Nacho releases a video reacting to BFB 28. We would also see Teapot begin its season, and then most importantly, February 1st, Bracelety turned 10 years old. A huge birthday for Bracelety, which should end up being one of the most emphatic celebrations for the server, right? Unfortunately, that was not the case at all. As I continued to read out the accomplishments that GD Nacho and the server made in 2020 into 2021, the server slowly descended into some sort of toxicity, the type that forms when food tends to spoil. At first, I thought it was simply just people coming and going as it usually does for servers, but I just kept seeing resignation after resignation. I thought it was just some freak coincidence or some really sick joke. But as it turned out, TBI was slowly crumbling, to the point where every positive announcement was immediately followed up by a big name resigning from the mod team. This collapse was slowly happening from underneath their feet. Tragically, this would impact Bracelety's 10th birthday. Two people who were heavily involved in TBI ended up getting demoted or just straight up quitting. The first of these happened on February 3rd, 2021. The same day in which an announcement would have happened for a birthday event for the server. Then, a day later, co-owner Not Republic ended up making the choice to not just resign, but leave the server entirely. These types of heartbreaking moments tend to happen in big active servers, but it was eating away at TBI, as it was not only happening at the member level, but with the staff as well. And what was supposed to be Bracelety's celebration has now become its funeral. Several minutes after Not Republic's leave, Nacho observed his surroundings and felt that it was time to throw the towel in. Over the year, he built his channel to the ginormous size it was through hard work and determination, supporting the least influential character at a time where the BFB rejoin just breezed by him when it all began. TBI supported Bracelety for as long as it could, hoping for a sign that one day there would eventually be an opportunity for the community to collectively rally behind her as a display of unity. That moment never came. Passion could be seen and felt by even just a single appearance, a hint of hope, but all good things have to end someday, even if that is hard to accept. TBI's infrastructure had gone to a point of no return. Most of the important players either left or got demoted. The golden moment had came to pass. Sometimes the best way to show support for someone was to eventually let it all go. And after a stream for the ages, TBI's last event, they closed up shop, and TBI's goal to get Bracelety to rejoin was completely abandoned. The dream was dead.
Good night, Bracelety Inquisition!
Welcome back, TBI. It's been a while since we last spoke. You've been missed greatly. There's a lot of things we need to catch you up on. In 2022, Ringy Paracosm, the GD level, was released celebrating Bracelety's 11th birthday, being quickly verified by skilled player Speedy Muffin in March, bringing the GD and OSC communities even closer. In April, you were finally given your replacement, a server by the name of Yoyal HQ. It used to be that server for an event, r/place, Battle for r/place. It was a really huge event. No need to worry anymore. TBI is in safe hands. Yoyo HQ is a really bustling server. I'm sure the owner is really good at handling it as well. He's really nice. Anyways, GD Nacho's over eagerness in figuring out whether Teapot 12 will feature something significant. That's the reason why we're all still here today. After 6 long, painful years, Bracelety's back up in the running to rejoin, thanks to Nacho being willingly spoiled on whether that's going to be the case or not. How did Nacho know of this? Well, I'm not really sure, but that doesn't really matter, doesn't it? I'm just glad the gang's back together, you know? With Teapot 12 now confirmed to be a rejoin episode, this is GD Nacho's golden opportunity to pull off something he has been wanting to do for years. Get Bracelety back in the show. And he'll do it in a way that he does it best. A stellar cast consisting of the likes from Q-Kitty to yours truly to even Trollsy accompanied GD Nacho in a group chat created 1 week before Teapot 12 drops onto YouTube, and the voting for Rejoin officially begins. 1 week seemed more than enough time to have a working video ready. With everyone essentially understanding their assignments, it was go time. It's time to get Bracelety back into the game. As the deadline loomed over, a huge problem emerged. Trollsy, who was in charge of a vital part in the video, still hadn't had their part done. It was only a day before the deadline, and panic began to ensue. Bring in hero Eli Gabret, who stayed up until 3 a.m. making a replacement part in case Trollsy fell through, saving the entire project. Luckily, Trollsy did come back and finish the part the day it was due. Well, time for GD Nacho to finish the job. For the first time since 5 loved BFDI characters that are now hated, GD Nacho uploaded a full-fledged video, building a case for why Bracelety should rejoin the game, and the reception on it overwhelmingly positive. If you were someone that saw this in the BFDI days, you would likely be very confused on why Bracelety, the least popular character, is now getting this much attention. But this is no coincidence. This is purposeful. If you still are unconvinced about the influence and popularity that Bracelety has had until this point, I understand. But the one thing that you should at least get out of this is how dedicated GD Nacho is to Bracelety. The subsequent streams that followed once Teapot 12 dropped should also show you how much Nacho has helped contribute to the movement over the last several years. He didn't single-handedly bring Bracelety to relevance, as that could be explained by the community's cumulative growth, but he did single-handedly form a unique, bustling community out of it. Nacho has done streams like this several times already, but this feels different. It can be argued, in fact, that the entire Bracelety campaign as a whole has had some of the most diverse support out there. People who would have otherwise stuck with their favorite characters or those that they think can drive the plot forward immediately stop and go for Bracelety in this pivotal rejoin. This also includes others that may have been swayed by the video itself and decide Bracelety to come back, even down to the very team who helped make this video. In fact, this was so impactful that it helped change the course of people's lives. I joined TBI around the time that BFB 19 came out and instinctively defended GD Nacho once the drama rose up. My persistence led to me being more involved, and eventually I joined TSI. Soon enough, I became the owner of Viola HQ. Bracelety by proxy gave me opportunities to thrive in the OSC and beyond, but in some sense, I wouldn't be making this video today if it wasn't for Bracelety. Throughout most of 2024, after years of pouring out everything I had into this community, I was betrayed. Really hard. I lost essentially everything that I helped build up. Even if the struggles continued well into the first few months of 2025, if it wasn't for being involved and helping out with the analysis video and seeing the positivity in a storm of negativity, along with the streams, I likely would have given up and left the community behind for good. But I didn't. I stuck around, and it led to one of the greatest days of my life as an Object Show fan. These struggles weren't easy to overcome. Just like Bracelety, Life just hit hard. It was unfair. But, like this community, I persevered, and even brighter days came. And I'd like to report that, during the production of this video, Ringy Paracosm, the Extreme Demon, finally achieved its well-deserved grade at the turn of March 2026. After its verification, as with Bracelet, it remained out of the spotlight for years. Like with this community, people persisted, even if it took years, even if it seemed impossible. And finally, with the help of user Tem reaching Viprin, it was rated, a huge win for the combination of the OSC and GD. It fell just short of reaching the Demon list, but it doesn't matter. The rating was the accomplishment. This campaign is the accomplishment. Despite the wild, complex trajectories, who we were before this or who we are now, long after, everyone was united when it came to Bracelet, even to the point where it changed lives. No matter how unfair life has treated Bracelet and the community, they always find a way to show up all the time, every time, even if she only was there for 3 episodes. Even if the community went years without a Bracelet appearance, they remained loyal. More ways than one, they were rewarded. And that's a story that might be just as great as the odds.
It's time.
Here we go. All the advocating and campaigning for Bracelet has led to this very episode. To everyone, especially Nacho, the episode doesn't mean much, at least not for now. It all depends on the results of the voting.
Frank, it's time. Okay, I didn't expect it to be in this situation.
Out of the 10 exiters, only 1 will make it through. Projections have predicted that it would go to Bracelet, but they aren't always the most reliable. Still, it allows Bracelet fans to feel some sort of hope. Nacho watches anxiously, as immediately, he's treated to the rejoin reveal straight away. Before the episode was even out, it was predicted that 8-Ball would get it last, and that's precisely what happens here. Match and Robati would then both join 8-Ball on the tail end with 9th and 8th respectively, but it was semi-surprising seeing Match this slow, at least to Nacho.
9th? 9th! The split. Oh no. Oh no. It did not. The votes did not split between Pencil and Match at all, did they?
However, the rest of the bottom half would be relatively chalk, with David and Stapy rounding it out at 7th and 6th. On to the top 5. Fiery Jr. is next to the party with nearly 10,000 votes, the same amount of votes that got him eliminated in the first place. Then it was Dora missing out on the podium, getting just shy of 11,000 votes.
Surprise, Dora fans, thumbs up, congratulations.
All of a sudden, Bracelet has found herself in the top 3.
Okay, please. What about my side?
Bracelet, Lai, and Pencil are all gathered inside for the rest of the reveal. Despite the long shot odds, Bracelet had officially surpassed her previous ranking from BFB 11. She once again defied all expectations and has now found herself here. Beating out Lai and Pencil might be hard, given that they have their own reasons for rejoining. But it's not impossible, and perhaps we can make it even more possible.
Oh.
As a huge surprise to the community, Bracelet was 1 foot in the door of joyous fear, as it was revealed that not 1, but 2 exiters are going to rejoin the show. What felt like a prideful moment seeing Bracelet get this far in the rankings has now rapidly shifted into a scenario in which Bracelet can realistically very well rejoin this game. For years, she, as well as her community, have been through hell getting her into this situation that she sees before. Years of agony and despair. And yet, the community refuses to die. Nobody deserves it more than the Bracelet Inquisition. Nobody deserves it more than Bracelet. Nobody deserves it more than GB Nacho. It's hard to describe how Braceleti's supporters felt in this moment. Even if people eventually found out and subsequently guessed that there'd be a rejoin, they sure as hell did not guess this. And yet, Bracelety once again fell just short. All the hype, all the hard work, all the excitement leading up to it, all equated to nothing. The extra rejoin spot was just like a carrot on a stick, and the Bracelety camp all fell for it. I don't think Nacho himself could describe what he was feeling at that moment. It didn't really get much better afterwards because, as we've seen time and time again, the show still found a way to disrespect him and Bracelety. Later on, he'd mention how he wasn't really all that influential to Bracelety's rejoin.
I told you guys, I don't have that much I didn't expect it to be that little, but I don't have that much influence.
But honest to God, he really does deserve more credit than he's giving himself. GD Nacho is a huge reason why so many people know of Bracelety nowadays, despite her virtually unpopular past. Despite falling 2,000 votes short of rejoining, 18,740 is incredible for a character who, throughout all of BFDIA and IDFB, couldn't even crack 40 votes. Perhaps he arguably, single-handedly, was the sole guy responsible for putting her out on the map at all. He may have arrived too late for BFB10's rejoin, but he spent years building the Bracelety Inquisition from the ground up, just to show his love and support for her. And throughout the long years, throughout all the exit cameos, through all the scuffles, TBI gave all that they had, even well past its expiration date. And Nacho especially gave every ounce and fiber to this effort until the very last second, until there was nothing else he could do left. The show must go on. It's now been about 1.5 years since that faithful episode. It's true that 1.5 years on, the OSC remains rather complicit. There's still been moments that really set the whole community back, perhaps irreversibly. It's also true that 1.5 years on, Pencil and Lai are still active contestants in Teapot as of Teapot 21, which leaves Bracelety, by a large margin, the character who competed in the least amount of episodes across all of BFDI. But when I look back on all the streams and events that Nacho made for Bracelety, and when I see all the messages of how inspired people were, even beyond its original intent, does it really matter? What is Bracelety's future like? Well, the Teapot 11 thumbnail might have been a sign that it really was the last chance, that any future hope for a rejoin is gone for good. Regardless, despite everything that Bracelety, TBI, and GD Nacho had to put up with, they accomplished something far greater than the quest to have Bracelety rejoin. Even when the page was turned on TBI's chapter, they still remain united. Even if the outside world didn't bat an eye, or took this whole thing unseriously, or even disrespected it, Bracelety and her community remained as positive and tight-knit as ever, and even changed lives, something that is now a rarity in this community. The streams, videos, and the tweets are all footnotes of this, something that deep down the general community wishes they can experience on a consistent level. Maybe the community can learn something from TBI, as even through the struggle, they still continue to inspire. This is what it means to be part of the OSC. Before I began working on this video, I asked GD Nacho what Bracelety meant to him and why he chose her all those years ago. He explains, Bracelety is a sort of symbol of icon. That little obsession for a character has given me opportunities I never really thought possible and meet some of my best friends. In a way, I'm grateful for her, and the fact her character still remains optimistic in her goals even after all her failures and all the time that has passed. It is inspiring. I want to help her reach her goals, the same way she's helped me reach mine.